Hi, it's Agnes, and today is a viewer request from Rosie Rose. Now, Rosie Rose has asked, I wonder a lot about living in the end result and taking actions. As we manifest, I understand the importance of thinking about the end result and not how to get there, because that is the universe's job. But we can't sit and do nothing most of the time, as we might lose some great opportunities. How can we know when and what actions to take? Sometimes it's not clear and we feel like we want to do something. But how can we know that the actions we want to take will bring us closer to the desire and not interrupt the universe? Different LOA YouTubers have different approaches to this subject. Some are very encouraging, taking actions, and others say that the desire will come to us effortlessly. I would be very interested to watch your video about this subject. Okay, so let me just rewind because it's quite a long question and I want to make sure I answer it properly. So, I wonder a lot about living in the end result and taking actions. Okay, as we manifest, I understand the importance of thinking about the end result and not how to get there, because that is the universe's job. But we can't sit and do nothing most of the time, as we might lose some great opportunities. Now, firstly, you can't lose great opportunities unless you have that belief, and you can actually sit and do nothing most of the time, because it's a vibrational shift. That's what you're doing. You're doing your internal work and you're allowing on the outside. Now, so many people want to go and do something. It's like we're programmed to be action figures. You can let a lot of that stuff go. If you're doing the internal work, it's like, if you think of it this way, it's like 80% internal work and 20% action. Now, how do you know what action to take? Let me just go back to that part of your question. But we can't sit and do nothing most of the time. Yes, you can. And you're not actually doing nothing. You're doing internal work to vibrationally line up with the thing that you want. And that is actually doing something. As we might lose some great opportunities. Well, you don't lose great opportunities if you're in vibrational alignment and you've done your internal work. And so you might want to revise what you think about that. I can't just sit and do nothing most of the time because I'll lose great opportunities is a belief and a thought that you have, and you've written it in this email, and that's going to go out and project itself, and then it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, okay? So how can we know when and what actions to take? Well, a good rule of thumb is, if something's inspired, like if you kind of go, oh, I'm wondering if I should do that action, if that's a good idea. If you're kind of having that kind of thought and those kind of questions, not really in line with inspired action. If you get that push from behind where you go, oh my God, I have to do that. It's so exciting. You cannot have any doubts about it. It is just a yes, yes. That's inspired action. So often I see people taking action because they want to be doing something, but that's really the I want to force and control and make it happen action, which then kind of puts water on the fire of creation, so to speak, okay? So, let me see what else you've said here. Sometimes it's not clear and we feel like we want to do something, yeah. And that's something I'd be very mindful of, okay? That I want to do something is about trying to push it into shape, okay? Unless you get the feeling I just described, which is inspired action. So, how can we know the actions we want to take will bring us closer to the desire and not interrupt the universe? Well, it's that feeling that I'm talking about. It's like you just know that it's the right action. It's like the push from the behind. It's a rush. It's a yes. It's one of those kind of feelings, not a, oh, I wonder if I should, or maybe this might be a good idea. That's kind of a weak signal, okay? Inspired action is lightning fast, it's quick, it's exciting, and it's just yes. That's how you know. Okay, so, I do agree with you. Different LOA YouTubers have different approaches to this subject. I would be cautious about who you take advice from. People that just do law of attraction, they don't do law of projection, they don't do law of assumption, they haven't read Neville. I'd be careful about taking advice from those people. That would be my suggestion. I would really, if you want to know about manifesting, I'd go to the horse's mouth, which is reading Neville Goddard. You can listen to Abraham Hicks. I would listen to them directly rather than listening to perhaps somebody that might have interpreted them. And also, if you see people on YouTube that are actually getting great results, I just observe their methods. Some people are still doing law of attraction, but they're really into pushing things into shape and also about goals and success and achieving through that kind of, I'm going to make it happen because I do the law of attraction. Okay, so there's a big difference between what Abraham Hicks talks about, which is the art of allowing. And as she talks about in that stream analogy, you just have to let go of the oars and then the boat turns around and heads downstream. And if you've actually turned the boat around and then put a motor on it and are trying to get down there quickly, you've missed the whole art of allowing analogy, okay? So that, I think, is one of the best sort of descriptions that I've heard from Esther and Abraham. And I think it does get easier with time. I mean, I know when I first started doing the law of attraction 20 years ago, I was still trying to make things happen and I didn't trust and I wasn't allowing. And, I'd come from such a I've got to control everything kind of background that I found it hard to let go and I found it hard to surrender and I found it hard to allow and let the fruit ripen and pick it when it's ripe. So that kind of comes with time as you manifest things that you haven't pushed into shape and you've got amazing results and it's come out of nowhere and it's come at a time when you felt really good and all that sort of thing. You start to gain the confidence to surrender and let go more. Do the internal work, surrender and let go more. Do the internal work, surrender and let go more. So as you practice that, you become more of a conscious creator, meaning you're using this faculty rather than action figure faculties, which is, the doers. And you honestly, you expend way less energy, way less energy when you allow. You end up with reserves of energy. You end up with more ability to focus and you don't feel as exhausted. You feel refreshed after sleep. You feel good about yourself. You can do exercise. You can go for longer than most people because you're conserving energy. You're not wasting it, blowing it out, trying to make things happen. So I hope that explains a little bit, Rosie Rose. I thought it was a really good question. And I think, it is something that we don't really talk about clearly. What do you actually do in terms of action? People build it into their stories when they're sharing law of attraction stories, but talking about the mechanics of how to break it down and how to apply it to, like the question you asked, how do we know and how do we not interrupt the universe, I think is very, very good questions, because it's like you say, you still need to take some action, but it needs to be very little in comparison to the internal work you do. And as you wait and allow and incubate and get comfortable with a state of, the new state of whatever it is that you want, it just starts to feel natural, you start to feel good, you start to feel connected to it, then there's very little action that's needed on the outside because things come. And I can honestly say the opportunities that have come to me from not doing too much action, actually, the one that was really, really good example of non-action and just really doing the internal work is my trip to Paris. So I'm going to hunt it down in the YouTubes that I must have done when it happened. And I will post the link so that you can see an example of how that happened and how there was no action at all, apart from having a conversation with my cousin at the exact right moment when he was going on holidays to give me his flat for, perfect amount of days when I had to be out of the Airbnb I was in London. So I will post that there for you to give you an example of the mechanics of exactly how to allow and to do very little action and to do a lot of internal work. Okay, lots of love.